I believe Mark Donovan. Say what you want. I know a lot of you don't. I've seen the feedback on social media. I'm buying everything he's saying. Happy Friday. Yeah, it's a preseason Red Friday. Chiefs, of course, their one home preseason game kicking off tonight at Arrowhead Stadium against the Chicago Bears. So we'll get to plenty of that throughout the morning. But Chiefs president Mark Donovan took to the podium yesterday. And, of course, this came hours after a bombshell report. Yep, the old bombshell.
Talk about a bombshell.
From the Kansas City Star, Sam McDowell, saying that a gunshot ended up in Andy Reid's office in May of 2024. And the biggest question surrounding this, obviously we know it's an investigation. Thank goodness Andy Reid's okay. But the biggest question is, what does this mean for these teams, especially the Chiefs, possibly leaving Kansas City, Missouri, and for the Chiefs in particular, leaving Arrowhead Stadium? Is this one of those things that will push them to Kansas? Was this a carefully crafted and timed piece by the Chiefs or somebody else who's trying to get this team across the state line, right? We talked about it a lot yesterday. Well, Mark Donovan was asked that question point blank. Does this news have any impact on this franchise deciding where it's going to play for the next 20, 30 years? And here is what the Chiefs president had to say.
You know, it really doesn't. I think in any situation, just echoing what I just talked about, in any situation you have to be fully prepared no matter where you go. It's something that we will be fully prepared no matter where we go. So it really doesn't have an impact.
Now, at first I watched that clip and I was like, I don't buy it. I don't. I'm not buying it. And I was trying to play body language expert. You know, friend of the show, Bill O'Reilly. You remember the end of the heyday of the O'Reilly Factor? He would have on these body language experts. And it was actually great content if you are a longtime Fox News viewer. And I've got to ask Bill about that segment when he comes on the show next year in a couple of weeks. But he would have on these body language experts, and they would analyze politicians and celebrities and TV people, and it was great. And I like to play amateur body language expert. And immediately as Donovan starts answering that question, he starts looking down. He doesn't make eye contact. And I'm like, he's not being honest. No. But then I went back. In my amateur body language expert experience, and I looked at every one of his answers from the press conference yesterday. And basically every answer he gave about this topic, he immediately looked away. So it wasn't unique to that answer. Every answer he gave at this press conference on this story, the Andy Reid bullet story, he looked away when he answered the question. So then I took a step back. I dropped my amateur body language expert cap for the moment. And I said to myself, okay, what actually makes sense here? This happened. This bullet ends up in Andy Reid's office at midnight on May 4th of 2024. It's 3 months after the Super Bowl parade shooting, and it's about 6 weeks prior to Kansas having a special session where they pass the Star Bond. And it's a month after Jackson County voters go to the polls and basically say pound sand. Now, they mostly said that to the Royals, not the Chiefs, but the Chiefs were along for the ride, unfortunately for them, right? That would have been the time. If you're like, this Star Bond deal's a slam dunk, that would have been the time to do it last summer. And you could have said, Kansas City can't keep us safe. They can't keep you safe. Jackson County voters told us, no, we're done. That's it. That would have been the perfect time. You would have had all these things stacked up in your favor to say Super Bowl parade shooting. Voters said no. Andy Reid's got a bullet in his office. We got to put in bulletproof glass to keep this guy safe. And, oh, thank you, Kansas, for the Star Bonds. All of those things happened in a 4-month span last year. February, April, May, and then June. Yet we're sitting here 14 months later, and they still have not run into the arms of Kansas. And they ask Missouri to go pass a statewide issue and have a special session to be competitive, supposedly, with Kansas? Kansas hasn't brought anything more to the table here. All they've done is basically extend their star bond for another 6 months. The offer's there till the end of the year, and that's that, right? I mean, that's basically all Kansas has done. Their deal has not gotten any sweeter. And if you're sitting on a deal and it has not gotten any sweeter, yet your opponents, theoretically, the state of Missouri, has sweetened their deal, and they had the upper hand to begin with because they've got the, I'll call it, home field advantage. Well, I believe Mark Donovan when he says this Andy Reid story with gunshots ending up in his office last year don't play any impact on their choice for a future stadium location. It just makes sense. Even if right off the bat you're like, I don't know if I believe that, it just doesn't make any sense. So I'm buying it. I believe him when he says that. And I know some of you, and I got it yesterday, are like, oh, man, there's no way that he's being forthright about that. No, I think he is. Because if that was the thing that kind of broke him, that made him say, we're going over to the Kansas side of the state line, why are we sitting here 15 months later? Why did they waste their time lobbying the state of Missouri to pass a statewide offer so they could retain some of the earnings out at Arrowhead Stadium? Why? Why would they have gone that route if they were just done with Kansas City and done with the state of Missouri? That's wasting everybody's time, including their own, and their own political goodwill and capital. That wouldn't make any sense. So I think this ended up being just an unfortunate incident that they look at in hindsight and say, boy, we've got to do a better job on keeping people safe. And that's part of what Donovan said yesterday as well when he was like, listen, we're going to have 70,000 people here tomorrow night, tonight, Friday night. It's our job to make sure people feel safe. And you know what? Credit to him. He's right about that, John.
Young Pete. Now, I'm with you on this. You're looking at the specific event and focus on it, and I can't say I disagree with you, but I would also say that there's a bigger thing afoot here in laying down layers of images. This is just a story, right? And perhaps another one will come up, and perhaps another one will come up, and it won't be any one of those stories that would drive them to Kansas. It'll just be the cumulative public perception.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that opportunity was there last year and they didn't take it.
I'm with you on the timing there. I don't know that. I think this is a public perception game. It doesn't really have anything to do with their business decision.
Yeah, I mean, I understand
That's what I think may be happening here.
I just think that if they sat there and they said, hey, you know what, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
We could have made the decision long ago. Could have been well on our way. We could have broken ground, been dozing dirt, right?
Yep, exactly. So then if this was a year ago, I'd feel much worse about it. I'd say they're going. But now I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, this comes out. Why now? And why are we sitting here 15 months after the fact? That's the part I can't figure out. And if you've got the answer at 913-408-7957, I mean, please bring it to the table. Because I've been racking my brain on this one, and I can't get a read on it. But I don't think that this is like the drip of setting the foundation, setting the stage for a bolt over to Kansas. Because if you wanted to do that, the opportunity was 12 months ago. And why would you be sitting here dragging your feet over it? You can convince me otherwise, but I'm not there right now. 913-408-7957, our text line and our studio line on KCMO. On the text line, Pete, as a Kansan, Missouri will always screw things up if they can. Well, that's
such a nice man.
Come on, can we be nice to each other on a Friday, please? It's a Friday. Chiefs are playing at home. Can we be nice to each other on the text line? Is that too much to ask? It might be. It just might be. I'll try my best to make that happen if I can. Coming up on KCMO Talk Radio, it is the 1-year anniversary of a tragic event in Kansas City. And it ties into what has been a national story of the moment. We'll talk about it next on KCMO.
You know, it really doesn't. I think in any situation, just echoing what I just talked about, in any situation you have to be fully prepared no matter where you go. It's something that we will be fully prepared no matter where we go. So it really doesn't have an impact.
All right, that's Chiefs President Mark Donovan yesterday saying that the gunshots that went through Andy Reid's office last year will have no impact on where this team is playing football in 2031. 913-408-7957. I believe him. Do you? Jim in Blue Springs, go.
Yeah, I believe this whole thing is set up by Mark Donovan because he has never once been positive about what Jackson County has handed his owner, his boss, and their family for the last 50-some years. He was negative on the bad vote for that boondoggle of a stupid idea, back last year, whenever it was, on the first vote. And he's just been negative Nancy the whole time. He just wants to go to Kansas. He won't admit it. He just wants to go to Kansas. He needs to, and then everything will get settled.
Well, it's easy to say when it's not his money, right? I mean, that's the reality. I understand he may have grandiose plans of a big new facility out in Kansas, but in the end, when you got to fork over at least a couple $1 billion and it ain't your dough, that's easier said than done. Eli in Independence, go ahead. You're on KCMO. What's up, Eli?
Hey, Pete, we also got to remember, too, the optics on the sales tax vote last year was pretty much, hey, pass this vote, extend the sales tax, or the Chiefs are leaving. It was, 67 years of loyal fans, and all of a sudden they spring this on us, and that's why that didn't pass.
Well, I think that's revisionist history. It didn't pass because people really hated what the Royals were doing and how they handled it. There was a little bit of that, they basically had a gun to your head. There was definitely some of that, but I don't know. I think it didn't pass because people really hated what the Royals' plans were and the way that they rolled out those plans. Don't you agree? Wasn't that really the number one issue for most people in hindsight?
For me, the issue was, past the sales tax extension or the Chiefs are leaving. It was, lickety split. And most of my friends were like, dang, that's kind of tough. So I voted against it. I was like, fine, if you want to go. We're not going to hold you here.
So that was your top issue, the fact that you felt like they were insulting you after all these decades of loyal fandom.
Oh, of course.
Wow. Okay. I mean, listen, that's the other thing about that vote last April. Everybody had a reason to hate it. I still think the main driver of that vote was the Royals. I think the Chiefs just got caught up in a bad situation. If the Chiefs were on a ballot by themselves last year, they would have passed, right? They were fresh off another Super Bowl. People like Arrowhead. They wanted to stay at Arrowhead. If they were two different votes, Chiefs would have passed probably 65-35, and the Royals would have lost probably 75-25.
As a voter, I was looking for a reason maybe to vote for it other than the sentiment or the paranoia of, they're going to leave to Nashville. Nobody gave you a really good reason to vote for it. I mean, the Chiefs' plan was just kind of thrown together maybe to tack on because the Royals were the main feature of that vote.
Yes, that's true as well. But, now you got Donovan saying, hey, no impact with that shooting on the stadium location, and I buy it. Is it fair to say you don't buy it, John? And where are you at right now, Mark?
Well, for the business part of it, I buy it. I'm with you. But I think there's an ulterior motive here at foot, possibly. We'll see if it comes to pass.
What's that?
Well, I'm just saying it's more...
Hey, if you're going to knock me to open the show, you better back it up, man.
I'm not knocking you. What I'm saying, if knocking you is aligning with Kevin on some of this, then that's okay.
Well, I know, but here's the thing: Kevin would sit here right now, and he would tell me I'm full of crap. They're going to Kansas. You just watch; they're leaving. So I'm fine if you want to take that approach.
No, I'm pointing to a quote he pointed out. At some point, it was suggested that the number one result of the survey they did, that big survey, was that the fans trusted the Chiefs to make the right decision. I'm not sure I buy that was the number one result of the poll, but in order to make that look good, then we'll start putting on layers of paint of reasons why we're leaving. We trust the Chiefs to make the right decision. Gosh, they decided to go to Kansas.
So do you think they're going to Kansas?
Dude, I wish they would poop or get off the pot. I'm tired of this crap, so I don't care where they go. Just do it.
I know. I'm with you.
I'm grumpy old man yelling at clouds today anyway.
I think they're staying. I still think they're staying.
Okay.
I'm not saying that because I have some inside knowledge.
This story's not pushing them out of Arrowhead.
Okay. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
that's
on
my
that
question.
level, but I still think they have an ulterior motive for putting it out there.
Yeah.
So it came out for a reason yesterday.
All right, Mark, go ahead.
Someone leaked it, right?
Yes.
We don't know who leaked it. I still think it's somebody from inside the Chiefs that leaked it. They're going to Kansas.
Okay. There you go.
That's my idea.
No, that's fine. Give me something. They're going to Kansas. That's what you think's happening. I disagree. I think they're staying. But I'll take it. So we got splitsies right now inside the building. Well, we got Mark and Kevin who think they're going to Kansas. I think they're staying, and I still don't know what you want,
I'm the
John.
guy that cares about the fourth tight end more than this crap. I'm watching tonight's game. That's my fandom focus.
There you go. Speaking of tonight's game, the tickets for a preseason game are expensive. I just looked it up on the secondary market. I got the birthday coming up on Sunday. I figure, hey, maybe I could take the two girls. And I'm like, what? Are we playing the Ravens on like Sunday Night Football or something here? I mean, It was a pretty penny to get into a preseason game tonight.
Well, it's about regular season price.
I
used
know.
to be, right? Pretty much.
I know. I was like, wow,
No
$100
discounts.
for the lower bowl for a preseason game?
Your discount comes from people who just want to get rid of theirs.
I guess.
Yeah,
You're probably
that's it.
right. But I was blown away. I'm like, plus the full parking? Geez, you're in for, $300 when all is said and done at least.
If you look around 4 o'clock today, you might have a better price.
Ah, yes. Spoken like the man who knows where to find a deal.
Oh, yeah.
The great Mark Van Sickle.
I would also say a preseason game is the best to take the girls at this point.
Oh, yeah. I can't bring them to a regular season game. There's no way. I mean, that would be nuts.
I went to the Bears game last year, oddly enough, playing them again at the same time. It was crowded with Bears fans, so they were all hyped.
Yeah.
You would have thought it was regular season there with some of them.
You're right about that. But yeah, I am not taking a 6 and 4-year-old to a regular season Chiefs game. That's suicide. I'm not doing that. Okay.
Well, and as much attention as they pay to it.
I know,
right?
it's
You're
like,
also going, man, $100. Come on, turn around.
When I see like these little kids like sitting on Dad's shoulder, don't get me wrong, it looks cute. I got those little kids too. But I'm like, man, that's a lot to have the kid on the shoulders trying to watch a game. I'm too invested trying to watch this game to have the kid on my shoulders right now.
Dippin' Dots taste the same out at Legends Field. So.
And those you
that's
can
all
at
the
least
kids care about. They're just out having a good time.
That's a good point as well.
How much it costs you is your thing.
Go to a Monarchs game too.
Sure.
You can heckle the county executive as a bonus, right?
Well, let's go to a high school game. They got Dippin' Dots.
Oh, trust me, I take them to the high school games all the time.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. It's a good time. Oh, my goodness. It is 6:27. It's great to be here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. And we are streaming, as always, on the iHeart app. Make sure you check us out there. Just search KCMO, and you will find us. It is great to be here on a Friday. Our feature Friday guest this morning is going to be a local voice of a play-by-play team. It's going to be fantastic. Do not miss him. That will be a great conversation in the 9 o'clock hour. Until then, it's pretty open. We've got you, we've got me, and we've got a lot to dive into, including the 1-year anniversary of a tragedy here in Kansas City we'll dive into next. We are approaching the 1-year anniversary of the death of Sean Brady, the Brookside chef who was just at his office, at his restaurant, and noticed that his vehicle was getting burglarized at Brady and Fox. He runs outside. He tries to interrupt a couple of thugs, and they end up shooting and killing him. Well, 1 year later, almost to the day, a cookbook is being worked on in his honor. It reflects his passion for Irish cooking. Pat O'Neill of the Kansas City Irish Center told Channel 9 that Brady had long wanted to publish a traditional Irish cookbook. And after his death last year at the end of August, O'Neill and others stepped in to help make it a reality. The Sean and Seamus Brady cookbook will debut at this year's Kansas City Irish Fest over Labor Day weekend. The project also serves as a tribute to Brady's 14-year-old son, who hopes to follow in his father's footsteps as a chef. So, you think about the last 5 years in Kansas City, and obviously they have been some of the deadliest 5 years in Kansas City history, including the record for homicides a couple of years back. And it is impacting now, the violent crime is impacting not just people in parts of the urban core, but folks like Sean Brady, business owner, small business guy, right in Brookside, broad daylight. Cars getting robbed, and he's getting shot and killed for interrupting these thugs. We fast forward to right now, and the violent crime is obviously front and center in Washington, D.C., right? That's been a huge topic over the last couple of weeks. And we have a lot of evidence and data that shows crime is already down in Washington, D.C. since the National Guard has been involved and the president has overtaken and federalized the Washington, D.C. Police Department. Now, yes, it's a small sample size, but when you've got violent crime down 30%, when you've got carjackings down 30, 40%, you've got homicides off 50+%, it's not like we're talking about 5 to 10% here. We're talking about major dips in violent crime in Washington, D.C. You look at Kansas City and you say, okay, why wouldn't we potentially sign up for some of that? If President Trump said, I'm offering National Guard and DOJ help to any major American cities that want it, Kansas City should be jumping to the front of the line. It should be. Now, I don't think they will be, based on my conversation yesterday with Mayor Quinton Lucas, who was quoted in the Washington Post as calling this a political stunt, which I asked him about yesterday. But we should be at the front of the line for federal help, because something tells me with Trump, there's always an A and a B. There's a reason for everything. There's a political reason for everything, but there's also a follow-up to almost everything he does. He doesn't do something without thinking about what the next phase of this is going to be, except for when he's tweeting and posting on social media. Then he's just kind of shooting from the hip and making it up as he goes. But with actual policy, he doesn't get enough credit for actually thinking about the next step, the next phase. And in this case, I think what's going to happen here is he's going to prove that it's not that difficult to get crime down when you're tough, when you take law and order seriously. And then there's going to be an element to this of saying, okay, well, let's apply this to some other communities around the country. Who wants in? Do you want the federal government's help? Would you take the DOJ? Would you like some National Guards troops? And if Kansas City is not jumping at that possibility, well, you know what? It's going to result in more people getting killed. That's what's going to happen here. And I asked the mayor of Kansas City about this yesterday. I said, hey, look at these crime numbers coming in over the last week and a half or so since the feds have been more involved in fighting crime in Washington, D.C. How can you deny the numbers? And here's what the mayor had to say.
There is a wonderful mayor in Tampa, Florida. She's a former Republican. She was police chief for years, and she noted this, right? Anytime you shut down activity in an area, you actually will have an impact on crime. The question is, does it come back? Is it in any way sustainable? And what are you doing long term? Yeah, if you have 3 tanks outside of my house, I think my house will not get robbed. I'll give you that. And frankly, maybe that's a good deal. I don't know if the taxpayers can afford to do that forever, but, that's the sort of thing that happens. I think what a lot of mayors are saying is, and, I noted in the article, it's a wedge issue the president's using, but it's not a bad one, right? Nobody wants crime in their community. But I think that what you are actually looking to try to do, and what police officers and local police departments have to do every day, is how do we make sure that we're actually solving long-term crimes, getting criminals that commit repeated crimes off of our streets, conducting real investigations, doing the real regular work of law enforcement. A police department with the greatest respect to security guards aren't just security guards, right? They are investigators. They're the ones who are looking into drug trafficking. They're the ones who are looking into why crime is happening in different places. That requires professional police work in American cities.
One part of that that's left out, though, is that if you have less crime, you don't need the police to be as involved in investigations. If there are less things to investigate, right, because you have a safer city, then that allows your law enforcement to do more patrol work, to do more security guard work. And I'm putting up my air quotes when I say that because I think that's kind of an insult to what cops actually do, right? I think when you say, oh, they're just security guards, no, when you're patrolling, when you're having your presence felt, when people feel safe, when criminals feel like, hey, I'm going to get busted if I do this, I call that patrol work, not security guard work. And I think that, the mayor did use that line for a reason, to kind of downplay and poo-poo the investigative side of what police do. But I would say you ask any cop, they'd rather be doing good patrol work than having to be buried in the bureaucracy of another homicide investigation that's probably going unsolved, John.
Imagine if we had enough detectives and quote-unquote security guards.
Yeah.
Right?
We're
If
down
you had
300.
enough people on the police, you could do everything.
That's a good point, too. We still are down 400 cops in this town, which shouldn't be forgotten either. So, as someone said on the text line, Pete, how about we use the slogan, make KC Washington, D.C.? Now we're on to something here. Who would have thought we'd ever say that? But yes, sign me up at 913-408-7957. You can get me on board of that.
The great AC/DC tribute band from this area is called KCDC. So I kind of like that.
Oh, that's great. I haven't seen those guys. Are they any good?
Yeah, they're good.
Okay.
Oh, real good.
Okay. All right. Now I got to figure out what to do for my birthday, maybe. See if KCDC's playing in town this weekend. On the text line, Pete can't get enough of a police state. This is exactly what our founders warned of. Oh, my gosh. Please. Stop. No.
There's something wrong with them.
No. Being pro-law and order doesn't mean that I'm a fan of the police state, and this is what our founders warned of. You know what our founders warned of in part? A growing bureaucracy, a growing government that is not looking out for the people. That's what our founding fathers warned us of. And that's what too many major American cities have to deal with right now. This doesn't impact you and I, right? This is about, first off, getting more safety and security to the most impoverished parts of Kansas City, where these people can't get up and vote with their feet. They can't afford to leave. They're stuck in many of these communities, and they aren't safe. And it's not just some of those difficult, impoverished communities in Kansas City. It's also Brookside, where Sean Brady was shot and killed. Chef at a popular restaurant who's just walking out, sees his car getting robbed, tries to interrupt, and he gets killed. Right? How many of you right now, Brookside, Waldo, deal with break-ins on your vehicles on a regular basis? South Kansas City having the same problem right now. You think that's what our founding fathers warned of? No way. Not a chance. Victor in Parkville on KCMO. What's up?
Good morning, Pete. I'm one of those crazy people that have a memory that brings to the fore when Mayor Q starts talking. To your first point that you were just talking about, what the founding fathers actually warned us about was career politicians. That's why they wanted statesmen, people that actually had a real job, not politicians, that they actually went back and lived in the communities that they're actually trying to govern. But to Mayor Q's point, no, you can't get a tank on every corner, but you can put police on every corner. And you're not going to do that by defunding the police, by taking $47 million out of the police budget and putting it into some social program that you think is, a wonderful idea for you and your cronies. And then what you also have to do, if you notice, they've taken a lot of criminals off the streets in Washington. Well, those criminals are not going to be performing any more crimes. They're not going to be perpetrating any more crimes and driving up the issues going on in Washington. So what you do is you got to have a prosecutor that's going to prosecute the criminals and take them off the street. So it's a threefold thing, Mayor. You got to fund the police, you got to have a decent prosecutor, and don't be a politician, be a statesman.
Thank you, Victor. That's well said. You're right about that, my man. That's a big part of the job, and got to get back to it. There's no doubt about it. 6:45 on a Friday morning. Breaking news. FBI agents have raided John Bolton's home. That is Donald Trump's former national security advisor. John Bolton's home was raided earlier this hour in Bethesda, Maryland.
Wonder if they're going through his lingerie drawer.
Okay. Oh, my goodness. I'm not buying the cards that Frank White's playing here. I'm not. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That is the story of Frank White, the Jackson County executive. It's 7:05. Great to have you here on a Friday morning. After he came out in a statement yesterday and said that he was diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2022, had a kidney removed, and now is cancer-free. He said, early detection saved my life. And then he says here in a statement, I share my story to encourage others to get screened and to remind us of what truly matters, family and health. With all due respect to Frank White, if you're telling people 3 years later, because you want others to get screened, well, how many lives could you have saved with this statement if you put it out when it was going on 3 years ago?
Yeah, that's the way I'm thinking.
If your main motivation was to bring awareness to kidney cancer, which I speak as somebody whose grandpa died from kidney cancer. His kidney cancer spread all over his body, and it killed him. Going on, 22 and a half years ago now. He was a firefighter, and, you're exposed to a lot of those toxins, and it led to kidney cancer, and it was detected too late, and it eventually took over his entire body. So I am very sympathetic and empathetic towards someone who wants to bring awareness to kidney cancer. But, you announce this a month before your recall election, and you claim your main motivation is to bring awareness and make sure people get detected or get their testing for kidney cancer or any cancer. It's just disingenuous. This is clearly a sympathy move from Frank White leading up to his recall election. Just like it was, 2 days ago when he put out that statement and said, hey, just so you guys know, if I do happen to get through this recall, I'm not going to seek re-election in 2026. This is all just building up to, I think, a potential attempt at a sympathy vote coming up next month when Jackson County residents will go to the polls and decide whether or not Frank White should be recalled. And I just think that this is a very sad ending to Frank White's political tenure. And frankly, he's making it worse here, John, is what he's doing.
I have concerns like people in leadership roles. So we would say sometimes, where's Frank? Or maybe we'd make a joke about the Monarchs. If the guy was, having a kidney removed is not outpatient surgery. So he was out for a period of time, I'll assume, in recovery. And like Lloyd Austin, you can't lead and then just go on the down low and disappear.
Lloyd Austin was Biden's defense secretary, and even Biden didn't know where the guy was.
Right.
Now, Biden didn't know where he was.
Prostate surgery or something, right?
Yes.
Something like that. But,
yes.
The guy goes under the knife and he's out, but he's got a position of responsibility, and he's not telling anybody, hey, I'm out for a couple of, And so it's to that point, if we're going, hey, where's Frank? Well, he's in the hospital right now. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Understand now.
Exactly. And people might have actually shown some sympathy at the time.
I certainly would have had it then, for sure.
Of course. I mean, just the human being in you would have said, oh, boy, that's terrible. I hope he beats this thing, right? But that's not what we got. What we got is basically, like everything in the Frank White administration, we got a guy who hid. We got a guy who was not transparent. A guy who was not forthright about what was going on with him personally and his administration. And as a result, then what do you have? You have people who are sitting there coming to their own conclusions, because that's what happens when you aren't transparent, when you don't give the people anything to latch onto. What do? They come to their own conclusions. And Frank White has nobody to blame for any of this other than the man who's sitting in the mirror and looking back at him.
I get the chutzpah of my medical problems are my thing. It's a personal issue. Sure, Frank White, the ball player. But when you're in a position of leadership, Lloyd Austin, Frank White County executive, it's not just your private affairs.
It's not. And that's what really has to come out of this story here. Whether you're a local city councilman or you're the president of the United States. Yes, you have some privacy, but when you're going through something like that, boy, being transparent, I know that you think that people might sense weakness out of you. But your voters, your constituents, deserve to know what the heck's going on here. And we saw some of this, obviously, with Joe Biden, right? We saw a lot of this with Joe Biden. And you had a national media that said, don't believe your lying eyes, until it was just so evident in that debate last June that this guy was totally out to lunch and was just not capable of mentally and physically doing the job anymore, that the American people said, whoa, we got a problem here. And then the Democrat Party said we got a problem here, and we know how this played out over the last 12 months. But with Frank White, you sit there and you say to yourself, come on, dude. I mean, if you wanted the sympathy on this, there was actually a time to get it. And if you're insisting that the health is part of the reason that you won't end up seeking re-election next year, well, this happened in 2022. And you sought re-election that year when you were going through this kidney cancer treatment. Frank got re-elected in 2022 as county executive. The next election is coming up next year in 2026. So you willingly ran for re-election while being diagnosed with kidney cancer. So I also can't believe that that's the reason that you're saying you're not going to run for re-election when you literally were dealing with the cancer, beat it, and had a full campaign going. It wasn't really much of a campaign. If you recall 3 years ago now, he didn't really run a robust campaign. And a lot of us assumed he was just mailing it in. A lot of us just thought, well, he's going to get by on being Frank. And he beat Teresa Galvin by, I want to say it was about 10 points. It was a comfortable victory for Frank White over Teresa Galvin in that Jackson County race 4 years ago. And I think part of it was, yes, obviously he was just kind of coasting, but now we know he was dealing with this kidney cancer. And we find out today, here's the question too. If this recall election wasn't happening on September 30th, do you think we would have ever found out that Frank White had kidney cancer 4 years ago? Not a chance.
That's a fair question.
No way.
Yeah, I'm with you.
No way. Not a chance. The only reason we are finding out about any of this right now is because he is about to get kicked out of office. And it's a last-ditch effort to garner some sympathy. And that in and of itself is really sad when you think about it. You have a man who obviously, was a hometown hero for basically his entire life. And now it's unraveling because of political incompetency. And the last-ditch effort is to say, hey, by the way, I had kidney cancer a couple of years ago. Woe is me. Keep me in office for one more year. It's really sad. It's sad. It's pathetic. It doesn't take away from the fact that the taxpayer is the one who's ultimately been screwed here in this community for far too long, especially on these property tax issues. But there is an element of sadness to this entire thing for Frank and his legacy and the arc of his professional career as a player and now to a politician. It really is sad. But I'm not going to sit here and let that sadness override the fact that you have thousands of homeowners in this county who have been screwed so many different ways on so many different appraisals to the point where people are trying to figure out whether or not they could stay in their homes, while the guy in charge of the county was whistling past the graveyard, including possibly his own for a period of time. Our text line is 913-408-7957. It's funny, too. Yesterday, I heard when this news broke, middle of the day, I'm flipping around the dial, and I hear another local show talking about this, and what a joke. I mean, they're like, yeah, should we find out more about the health of our politicians? Like, look at the current president. I mean, people are talking about his health right now. I'm like, wait, you mean the people online who are saying Trump has cankles, so like he must have diabetes or something? Is that what you're talking about? Literally, who is talking about Donald Trump's health? He looks about the same as he always has for the last 10 years or so, give or take. But the people who are super fascinated with the health of Donald Trump were saying 14 months ago, Biden's great. He's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with him. Nothing to see here. Oh, Joe is sharp as a tack, right? That's what we were told. Absolutely. Come on, man. Oh, they were all in. But now, Frank's not doing well. And you see the health issues with our current president? What health issues would those be?
Did you miss the part where they talked about Hillary's health records coming up in the whole Russian thing, or did they do that?
No, they skipped that part, too. Yeah, they skipped that part, yes. Yeah. The only health issues that Trump has is he's too busy kicking their ass every day. That's the real health issue.
Carpal tunnel syndrome.
Oh, my gosh.
Tennis elbow or whatever.
Tennis elbow, yeah. Too many forehands that are going right down the sideline past them every single time. Every volley. Just smoking them. Oh, now many of you are guessing the radio station. Trust me, you're all right, okay? You're all guessing right. I'll just leave it at that. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up, well, somebody put it very well. What you can expect tonight and for the months ahead when it comes to the story in Kansas City. We'll play it next. I know some of you are going to be out at Arrowhead tonight. It is the only preseason game the Chiefs are playing at home. 2 weeks to go until the season officially kicks off on Friday, September 5th in Brazil, taking on the Chargers. And while there's undoubtedly still plenty of Chiefs jealousy, I'll call it, it's jealousy masked in hatred. I thought that one NFL analyst summarized the Chiefs' situation very well right now in terms of why they're not getting maybe as much attention, as much credit this offseason by some as they might, considering they still have been to 3 straight Super Bowls, even though they lost the last one. And it's just the fact that this is a good thing for us, by the way, in Kansas City. They're boring to a fault. Here's Kyle Brandt, NFL Network, yesterday.
Well, it's interesting that we haven't talked about him much, but I can speak for myself. It's not Chiefs fatigue. It's not fatigue. It's just concession. You got it. You run this thing. You run the AFC. Even when you don't win it, you still run it. You know it. I know it. Listen, the biggest compliment I can give the Chiefs is that they're not terribly interesting right now in August of 2025, and only because they're so consistently great. Tell me what I should be not excited about, but really genuinely interested for a talk show. You want to tell me, well, they got blown out in the Super Bowl. I've seen that before in the Mahomes era. Mahomes gets disrespected while the other quarterbacks get hyped. We've seen that too. Oh, the AFC West is different this year. I heard that last year. Harbaugh is here. Sean Payton is here. The Raiders smacked them on Christmas Day at Arrowhead. Guys, Mahomes did not lose to the AFC West last year. He was undefeated. So you say, well, maybe they'll be without Rashee Rice at times this year. They were without him for all of last year. You say, well, what if the Chiefs just kind of lose their mojo and Mahomes doesn't have his usual magic? I heard that for 6 months last year. They won 15 games. They won the AFC. It's the Chiefs. You stand there and you do nothing. You want to do something interesting? Lose the divisional round one of these years. That would be the Chiefs' version of interesting. That they end in the final 8 instead of the final 4. You know, you look at these different dynasties that we've been involved with in my adult life. You want to do something interesting? Patrick Mahomes win the Super Bowl this year, walk away and go play minor league baseball for a couple seasons. Why not? Do that. You want the Patriots? The Patriots, interesting. The Patriots had a 6th-round draft pick as their quarterback. They had a very strange coach. They had all kinds of gates. They had sex and drugs and rock and roll. They were the ultimate soap opera. The Chiefs are a Dick Wolf production. Just solid, strong, consistent, immortal. They just churn it out every single year. So it's like, you know, January is for the also-rans. February is for the Chiefs. August is for losers trying to become winners, and we prop them up and hope for them. These two guys aren't August players. None of those guys are August players. What is it? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he doesn't exist. As far as the Chiefs are concerned, the first 4 months don't need to exist.
There you go. I love that from Kyle Brandt, NFL Network. And I think he's absolutely right. For the last 2 off seasons, you've heard these NFL talking heads and all these, shows and whatnot try to figure out a reason for why this is the year the Chiefs actually won't win the AFC and get to another Super Bowl and, possibly win another Super Bowl. And every single year, these talking heads twist themselves into a pretzel, and they're wrong. So why is this year and this offseason going to be the time that they're finally right? It's like they've given up on that narrative. So they're giving it a break. So credit to them for coming to that conclusion, just giving it a rest. Now, do I think that Mahomes goes 6-0 against the AFC West this year? No, I don't. I think they'll actually have a worse record. Doesn't mean they won't get to a Super Bowl. Doesn't mean they won't win a Super Bowl. But that analysis on the drama or lack thereof around this team going into the season is the best analysis I've heard in 6 months of any of these talking heads trying to figure out what's next for this team. Everybody is just killing Cracker Barrel, and it is so well-deserved after the worst logo rebrand we've seen in some time. And you've got local companies just dogging them here in the last couple of days. Did you see Silver Dollar City? Oh, I did
see that one.
This is great. Silver Dollar City made fun of Cracker Barrel by just sharing a logo that says Silver Dollar City, and it's literally the same exact Cracker Barrel logo with the same coloring, same imagery, and it just says Silver Dollar City. It's been shared 1,000 times on Facebook, and it's got 21,000 reactions to its post. I mean, that is genius grassroots marketing there.
They're good at it.
Yes.
Yeah, they do some different things.
That's outstanding work. And then you've got Guy's Snacks. They're here in Kansas City, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're right here in town.
Yep.
Mark, do you know those guys a little bit?
Yeah, I know their social media guy. He likes to be undercover, but I know who runs their stuff. So.
Didn't he do something that was somewhat controversial a few months back?
Yeah, they do a lot of funny stuff on their socials.
I remember there was something that happened with them, and you knew the guy.
Well, it looked like his work. I believe the story was whoever did it wasn't credited or didn't want to be credited, and we were...
Oh, that's right.
We were trying to figure out, and it's like, that's so-and-so's humor or something.
They were ripping on someone, and we didn't want to out the guy, is what it was. I forget who it was, though, and what it was tied to. But anyway, they had some fun yesterday. They put their Guy's Snacks logo on, like, just a bunch of barrels with a yellow backdrop, which is just some incredible work. And then you got this from a national brand, Steak and Shake. Took aim at Cracker Barrel yesterday as well. Steak and Shake posted on X, sometimes people want to change things just to put their own personality on things. At Cracker Barrel, their goal is just to delete the personality altogether, hence the elimination of the old-timer from the signage. Steak and Shake continued on X, writing here, heritage is what got Cracker Barrel this far, and now the CEO wants to just scrape it all away. At Steak and Shake, we take pride in our history, our families, and our American values. All are welcome. We will never market ourselves away from our past in a cheap effort to gain the approval of trend seekers. That's pretty good. Adding here, at Steak and Shake, we have gone back to the basics. I didn't realize Steak and Shake is an Indianapolis-based burger chain. I've actually never had Steak and Shake. I'm sure you have, John, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
They're big down in Branson. I know they were real popular in St. Louis, so for a while here they kind of had the mystique of being more of a St. Louis thing, like White Castle, but eventually they moved into the market.
What's your read on them? Do you like them?
It's a late after. We're out. It's 11 o'clock. You can get in there. It's Chili Mac. It's,
Give me just a real good assessment. Real short,
out
brief
of 10,
assessment.
4.
Okay, so that's not good, John. That's not good.
We used to go there after we had, in college, after my band would have a show, we'd all go to the Steak and Shake.
Okay,
so it's
why?
one of those spots.
Why?
Open late. Used to be.
I like the shoestring fries, and they've got, a nice cheap burger.
Unique fries.
So you went because
good shakes.
It was open and it was cheap. Is that my understanding?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's decent.
Okay. 4 to 10 is not exactly knocking it out of the park in my book.
No, because there's some service issues in that with my Branson story. So.
Oh, okay. So it's personal. I got you. It goes back.
They have one.
They left the fries out of my order back in '92.
It took 30 minutes to get the food.
Yeah, well, you can't hold that against them, John. How long ago was that?
It was this year.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. It was down in Branson. It was crazy. I don't know. It was bad management in the facility. You walk in, you order, and I go, okay, well, that'll be about 30 minutes. You're like, what?
That's not an indictment on Steak and Shake as an overall brand, though. That's just that location.
They usually just have one cook and one waitress, so they need to hire more people.
Yeah. That's what was going on when I went there. 2 people working, one taking the order, another guy busting his hump.
Oh, man. So they need more employees. That's the assessment. They got good social media people, though, I guess. They got to put that guy in the kitchen. That's what it sounds like. Man. All right. Well, I have never been to a Steak and Shake. This is not going to compel me to do it. You guys haven't exactly convinced me to do it. The last thing I need taking a bunch of kids out is hearing I got to wait 30 minutes for a hamburger that should take 30 seconds. So I'm out. Not my cup of tea. Thanks for the warning there,
You
fellas.
hit them at prime time, you might be all right.
Oh.
But, I would say, after 5 you're taking chances.
Okay. All right. On the text line, Steak and Shake is better than Casey's Pizza. Well, that's a low bar.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that's not much, right?
Are you kidding me? Wow.